Good evening, Shaggy SoCal with 2Old4Forza, and time for the final track guide for TNT Season 43 and the Hoonigan Focus. And this one's a doozy. Um, this one's going to be very frustrating, and it's VIR Patriot Alt. And I love VIR, and I think if we were doing like the full course in this car, I think it would be a lot of, I dare I say, it would be a lot of fun. Again, car likes to understeer a little bit, but the rolling hills, you'll be able to get a decent lap out of it. But no, that's not where we're racing. It is VAR Patriot Alt, and really, this is going to be a tale of getting the car into. I want to call it the infield section, getting the car into the infield section and out of the infield section cleanly. It's going to be a bit of a pain in the butt. So I would say I'd almost, if you want to try and lobby Matt to say, hey, there should be like an extra clean bonus point just because of how difficult this track will be. I would be surprised if I'll be pleasantly surprised if any of us get out of this race without any time penalties for cut track. So, but let's get into the guide and let's talk about VIR Patriot Alt. Let's go ahead and do the test drives. All right, down the front stretch, we'll easily be up in fourth gear, winding and out in fourth gear. No need to go to fifth. Braking is going to be about halfway to two-thirds, right about here, down to second. This could be first as well, and here's where it gets fun. Gonna cut this little here, stupid track limit there. Abuse that curb, abuse this curve, down to first, keep it neat and tidy, roll back in second gear, ease off the throttle, and this is just all balancing in here. Just ease off throttle at a turn, ease off the throttle, maybe a little touch brake, eat a little curve there, eat a little curve there, eat a little curve there, down to first gear, hard left-hander, upshift, short shift to second, roll back out. Now you're back onto the circuit proper. Third gear, brake at the dip in the road. That's a little bit late. Roll it up, still third gear. Brake down to second. Now I tend to drift a little bit wider than the line suggests. And square that corner up, back onto the front stretch. So I'm going to try and do a hot lap here and see if I can keep it clean. And that's probably going to be, it's probably going to be better in first through there. All right, so let's talk about VIR Patriot Alt here. So now, if you notice, normally I run with the track limit markers on proximity. For this track guide and probably for the race, I'm going to have them on the whole time. So for me, running up through here, I don't have a definitive, consistent breaking point for turn one. It's somewhere in trying to correlate something with the braking line. The easiest thing to use is this access road here on the left, and what I'm trying to gauge off of is it'll go by in a flash, but if you can see the donut marks and the tire marks there on the concrete patch there, as that kind of flashes out of view, I know I got to brake. So it's somewhere just after that, so somewhere right about here. So just as those go out of view, but it's before you get to the cones. And again, those cones are close enough to the edge of the track. I doubt those cones are going to be there the entire race. So that's where I'm trying to gauge that. With where these tire marks disappear on the concrete patch on the left. Might even be kind of where that tree gets to the edge on the right. but it's somewhere right in here for me where I'm getting to the brakes. I'm getting it down from fourth gear down to third, down to second. Again, you're still cresting a hill, so we can't even see into the corner. And, in the practice, we're going to see a whole bunch of tire barriers that won't be there in the race. So this track's going to look very different on race night. So I just tried it in second. I think this is one of these rare instances where you're going to have to get it down to first gear to get through this first chicane section getting into the infield. Um, this I'm still struggling with. So what I'm trying to do is get the car down, get it down to. We'll do it in first in the race and see how that works. I am going to try for this infield section. I'm going to be abusing as many of these curbs as I can. What I'm trying to do is abuse the curb here. Now, this is where I have a problem with Forza track limits. All right, so I'm gonna complain. I hope if VIR is in the next Forza game, I hope they revisit the track limits. The track limit for this layout should not be out to the point. It should follow the grass. Honestly, it should really follow the grass in. Um, that line, if you want to follow that discoloration, that line would make sense for, say, Grand West or like that, where we're taking this hairpin to go back the other direction. Then it would make sense to have the line follow out from the grass into that dark patch as it would continue on. But for this, it's a chicane. So, but I guess they want to try and make it neat and tidy, or at least not all the way out to the point. But all right, rant one over. I'll have the second one here in a little bit. So I'm going to abuse the curb on the inside there on the right to try and keep the car to the right as much as I can so I can make this corner. Now, the track limit is a bit forgiving in that, and we're going to keep an eye on it here, is you can run over, if you get those two proximity markers in the middle of the cars, you cross them, you're fine. If you go a little bit more, you might be fine, but this is about as much as you should dare. But what I'm going to try and do is, oh, excuse me, it's late. As I do want to try and cut this as much as the game is going to let me, and that's where I'm thinking a lot of us probably are not going to get out of this race without a time penalty here or at the other side of the infield. Um, but if I do it right, I can cut across there. Then what I'm going to try and do is line it up again. I'm going to abuse curbs here. I want to abuse the curb here on the right because I want to try and take this next part as straight as I can. Abuse the curb here. Be careful how much throttle you give. This left-hander sneaks up on you. It's tighter than you think it is, and it's very easy to go too hot through here and push wide. So really, you might just get into throttle, but you're going to be getting out of it sooner than you really think you should. You should just be able to get out of the throttle, abuse this curb here, get the car out, and then in first gear, I'm just going to try and hug the inside as much as I can. What I'm looking for is, if you look on the inside, you can see the inside line there, and you can see the little triangle shaped curving patch. That's what I'm looking for to help as kind of a reference to help me get the car turned and pointed correctly. Because when I can kind of, as I'm about getting there, and I can kind of see how the left side of the track kind of straightens out, I can kind of cut this and start rolling back into the throttle. It'll be a short shift up to second. The other thing too is, if you're still in first gear here, if you're still in first gear here, be careful how quickly you get back on the throttle. It's very easy in first gear to spin the tires up. Second gear as well, though. If you short shift and roll into the throttle, you should be able to get good power back down without having the turbo kind of spike the torque there on the wheels. All right. So first gear up to second. So this whole next section, pretty much almost to the end of the infield, is a balancing act. I think for me, Second gear is going to work better. Second gear is safer. It does wind the car up high in the rev range, but again, it's that because of that, you get a little benefit of engine braking. You get a little bit more point on the car. You get a little bit more control because it's on its toes. It's a little more high strung. I think that suits this car better on this infield as far as keeping the balance here. If you want to try it in third, that's great, but just understand that because it's more relaxed, it's going to be harder to get the car to slow down. You're going to need to use your brakes a lot more. So my suggestion, and probably what I'll be doing, is I'll be doing second gear through here. And it's a roll into the throttle, and it's just going to be off the throttle, get it onto the curb a little bit, roll back into the throttle, probably be bouncing the rev limiter a little bit here, off the throttle. Here, you might need to do a little check brake, just a little bit of a brake, just to scrub a little bit of the speed, get a little weight in the front, but then immediately off, again, bounce the car through, use the throttle, feather it, bring the car out. I'm going to then, these next couple of curves, I'm going to eat this curb a little bit here, cross over it. I'm going to do the same thing here. Really not going to be much in the throttle at all. Hit this curb, and then this is the other thing I'm still trying to get it lined up. The curbing on the left side here is going to be my guide as far as braking, when to brake, and then hopefully if I do it right, get the car set up where I can get out of this infield section. This is the other thing where I have a problem with track limits. So as I get to the curbing here, I'm going to brake, bring the car all as far out as I can to the right side, but I don't want to lose track of the inside there. Drop it to first. Now here's the other track limit that makes no frickin' sense. It's, if you want the track limit to follow that line, that's fine. If we're doing Grand West or like that, we're continue on that direction. Or for the curve part of it on the opposite side, if it's Grand West, you come into the hairpin here, or Grand East, that's fine, if you want to have that curve. But for this particular layout, again, the track limit should follow the grass. Let us cross over that, make this turn a heck of a lot easier. So again, rant number 2 over. That's where this is going to be annoying. But again, first gear, it's going to be a pretty sharp right. To the best of my knowledge, at least as far as how the proximity markers are set, is they're not coming to a point where the paint is. So if you see those 2 markers there, I can cross over the middle. I can have that one right about the middle, and it's not gonna, if you can look at the current lap, I'm not violating track limits. It's not gone yellow. So they are kind of generous with it, but it's still, it's roll of the dice. So again, first gear, and you can tell my frustration. This is going to be a pain in the butt. Again, this is a much sharper turn. It's low speed, so this is going to be one of those rare instances where you're going to see me probably go close to 90 degrees on the steering. Bring the car out. I'll have it in first here, get on this curb a little bit, short shift up to second. And then for me, I'm really not committing back to the throttle until I'm almost, you can see where we've kind of hit the low point. We're starting to go back uphill. It's right about here I'll commit back to full throttle. It's that thing of when I know that I'm set, that if I roll back into full throttle, the car's going to go straight. I'm not going to push wide on exit. And now we're back on to VIR circuit proper. Second gear, third gear, finish out the lap. Again, what I use, it's harder to see stopped and doing it slow. When you're cresting the hill with a braking line, where you're going to start to brake, we crest the hill, there's a little bit of a dip before a little bit of a dip before, this left-hander heads down towards Oak Tree. So where that dip is about where the braking line goes red. That's kind of what I look for. It's much easier to see that dip at speed. So where that dip is, it's right about here. It's a quick brake, turn in. Now because the wall's there, I'm probably going to be a little wide on this, but you can get on the curb here a little bit. Start to roll back into the throttle. Just be very careful that you don't go off wide here on the right side. You can cross over the curbing there a little bit. Still full throttle, third gear. Bring the car back across. I can never see the numbers at speed, but I think it's about the 3 board where the line kind of gets parallel with the left side of the track. That is where I'm braking from third. I'm going to drop it to second, start, kind of trail brake, turn the car in, release the brake here in second gear. And then this is where I differ from the braking line, is I tend to like to let the car drift out a little bit more and then square up the corner and late apex on the way out. So the first thing I want to look for is the Coca-Cola signs, as long as they're there. Let the car drift out, second gear. Then I can see the curbing, release the brakes. I might even feather the throttle in between because it's kind of a double apex corner. Turn in a little bit more, clip that curbing a little bit more at the apex. Let the car come out. Might even cross over a little bit here on the exit, and that's the end of the lap, of the slow lap, and VIR Patriot all. So again, I kind of went through that kind of quick. There's still things I'm still trying to figure out. Honestly, I'm still trying to figure out how to get in and out of the infield section cleanly. It's kind of a roll of the dice, and it's it's a little frustrating. So, but with that, how frustrating is it? Let me tell you how frustrating it's going to be. Let's finish the test drive. So lap times here, it's a short lap. It's a little over a minute. So we're going to, based on my, guesstimations and calculations, we're probably going to end up doing about, let me just double check to make sure I have that right. Yeah, we're probably going to do about 30 laps here. So 30 laps of that is 60 chances to get a time penalty per, 2 per lap. So let's go ahead and get into the race. Again, I'm going to run 3 stops with this, just to keep it consistent. I when I was kind of doing fuel calcs, actually, you know what? Let me start the race and then I can talk about all this. Not select car. Let's go ahead and start race. So I get 30 laps. Fuel for VIR Patriot. Weirdly, again, it's a longer lap as far as time wise, but we're not on full throttle as much as we are at Road Atlanta. So you're going to get about I think the number is 14. So 14 laps is about what we're going to be able to do on fuel. So again, for a 2-stopper, 14, 14, 14, 30. Yeah, it's like this might be a 2-stop race. I think Matt will just have to figure that out, because you could almost do this in 1 stop. So I think this might be, I'm going to do 3 stops for tonight, but let's say if it's 14 laps on fuel and we're only doing 30 laps, we probably could do a 2-stopper and still have a decent amount of pit strategy involved. But I'll do 3 stops just for consistency, and we'll see where things end up at. So the challenge is, how quick can I go? And can I actually set a clean lap? Let the frustration begin. Who chose this track? It wasn't me. All right, so look for tire marks on the left, brake. Yeah, and just be careful getting into first for there, because you can end up spiking the rev limiter. Just ease off the throttle, balance. A little bit of brake. Not doing it right there. Be very careful that you give yourself a little bit of wiggle room there on the left for that braking up the hill. Very easy to drift off on the left side, and then you're going to be off for quite a while. Back end started to step out a little bit. little late on the steering. And, you know, as I get into rhythm a little bit, just pay attention to how much throttle I'm actually using through that infield, especially late there as you start going back up the hill. Oh, second gear. Definitely one of those tracks. The smoother you can be, this is definitely another track where you want your eyes up as much as possible. You know, the car's going to go where you look. It's still a little bit late. This is third gear. And it's just really low in the rev range. But you're really not using much gas anyway, but you're still going to have to get it back down to first gear. I think I ran a 2Old4Forza, but that was me. Oh, that's late. I think when I was doing the fuel test, I think I got down to a 2Old4Forza, but it's a lot of work. That's a little bit too much. See, very easy to get too much gas and just have the car just wash wide. Excuse me. Stabby on the throttle. Good, I get to see if I can outbrake somebody into the first turn. And the answer is no. I'm going to let him go. Oh, maybe not. But yeah, I would say passing wise, it's really, if you're going to, passes on the infield here is really just going to be taking advantage of somebody else's mistake. That they go way off and you can kind of get a freebie by them. Kind of like, I would say most of the proper passes are going to be done. You know, if you get a really good run heading up here into Oak Tree, or out of the final turn down the front stretch to turn 1. Well, I'm braking way too late there. I'll keep it in second. Now there is a light pole way off in the distance that kind of lines up on the entry to 1, but it's one of those that I barely notice it, and it's like, because I'm so focused on trying to see where, you know, where these track limits are. A little bit shallower just because he's out there. Come on, go! Oh, yeah. Just for that, have fun in the grass. Oh, nope, I couldn't force him out. I just didn't give it enough break there. Yeah, I have to break a lot more than I'm used to. I think it's some of the heaviest braking. Staying on the gas a little bit too long there. Surprise! So you might be able to surprise somebody there, but at least with the AI, it doesn't end well. Let's see if anybody tries that in the race. I honestly, I just, as far as proper pass setups. The car oversteered a little bit there. Lap 12, we're going to go to 14. How are we doing on fuel? Yeah, 16% left. Part of that is I'm using a little too much curb there on entry, and that's kind of pulling the car to the right. And maybe on that entry, try not to eat as much curb on the entry to one. And that was too little braking. A couple of cones. Remember when I said you need to be careful on the outside of that turn? We don't know fuel. 9.4. So yeah, 14 laps. So we'll pit this lap. But the best I've taken that in a bit. All right, pit entry I think is pretty straightforward. Short pit lane, so not a lot of time to drink. So let's see, we'll pit. We'll pit on lap. Can't do math in my head and race at the same time. Need a race strategist. what I'll do is I'll pit on lap 20 and 21. There's a lot of cars stuck in the infield there. There's a lot more braking than I'm used to doing. Push it wide a little bit. Yeah, so you might be able to surprise somebody into the braking for that turn, but you really need to be alongside at turn in. And you better hope they don't push you over the line, so you get a 2-second penalty for passing outside of track limits. I was looking to try it again, but I just didn't time it right. All right, we will pit next lap and lap 21. Well, it was a little bit early. Just we'll go out and we'll go right back in and see what happens over the last 9 or so laps. I might actually be able to set a clean lap. Where did I dirty it? Let's go back and look. Fortunately, the camera's blocking my telltale with the rewind notice, so I can't. It must have been here. That was a bit aggressive of me, but oh, you're gonna hit the tires. Trying to read traffic ahead of me. Just listening to that out. Excuse me. Yes, I put 2 tires in the grass, but I did not exceed track limits. That was a fair pass. A little bit reckless, but it was a fair pass. A little too aggressive on the throttle there, but you can at least see what happens if you know, the back end slides out and you push wide a little bit. I didn't see the markers go red, so I'm assuming I kept it. I kept it on track. Oh, this race is going to be a mess. I'm going to dive bomb in. I do again. Questionable racecraft. I got enough distance on this radical behind me. Hopefully, a chance to set a clean lap. Clean, but I think I'm going to catch whoever's the green dot in front of me. That's late. What? All right, I'm cheating. I totally missed doing the pit immediately on 21. So okay, that's how frustrating this track is. I forget to pit. Don't forget to pit. Let's finish this out. Come on, get moving. You're supposed to be expert drivators. You're supposed to be unbeatable. That is VIR, Patriot Alt. Yeah, this one of the two tracks that if I want to go back and run more laps at before Thursday, this is the one I'm going to focus on. In the focus, haha, brunk. Um, yeah, it's just again, it's the track limits getting on and off the infield is going to be annoying, and passing is going to be very difficult. So a lot of patience will be needed this race, but and again, 35 laps. I'm sorry, 35. 35 laps. No, 30 laps. 3 stops took almost 36 minutes. So again, this might be. I don't know if Matt will do a 3 stopper just to keep it consistent over both races, or in theory, this one could be run as a 2 stopper because the pit window would still be wide enough. Again, if it's 30 laps and we're getting even 13 to 14, that's pretty wide windows, but we'll see what happens on Thursday. With that, I'm gonna end this stream here. Hope you guys have a great weekend. Enjoy opening round Formula One here in a couple of hours. And for those of you that watch IndyCar as well, I'll be watching IndyCar tomorrow morning. Formula One's still a little too early for me to get up. So hope you guys have a great weekend. See you Thursday, and happy racing.